おはようございます。
おはようございます。
昨日のパーティー楽しかったですね。
楽しかったですね。
またやりましょう。
ぜひ。Hello, you're listening to Learn Japanese Pod with me, Alex.
And me, Asuka.
How's it going, Asuka?
I'm good. Alex, how about you?
絶好調。絶好調かな? I'm fine. Hey everyone, welcome to Learn Japanese Pod. This is a podcast for learning, surprise, surprise, Japanese. And today we're going to give you our top 10 tips for learning Japanese. So this podcast should be perfect for... Who should it be perfect for, Asuka?
People coming to visit Japan, maybe on a holiday.
Yep, good. Or maybe students who are coming to Japan to study the language.
People coming to live here for long-term work, like work-related business.
Or maybe you just want to speak with your friends and family who are Japanese to understand them better.
Mm-hmm. Or just generally interested in Japan and its culture.
So welcome. Oh, and
Welcome.
And also maybe if you've already studied a bit of Japanese, but you haven't studied in a while and you want to brush up, please continue listening to our humble podcast.
So the top 10 tips for learning Japanese. Alex, what is the first tip?
The first top tip is, as with learning anything, motivation. And to find your motivation, you need to decide why you want to study Japanese. So, why do you want to study Japanese? Why?
Why?
Yes, why?
And not just why, but, setting goals are really important. Like, I'm going to Japan in 6 months. I want to be able to communicate, basic Japanese with people and just get around speaking Japanese and not trying to speak English. Like, that could be a really great motivation.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, you want to know enough Japanese to, buy food in the convenience store or buy a ticket to a cool destination or maybe...
You have a girlfriend or a boyfriend that's Japanese.
Exactly. And you just want to study casual Japanese. Then in this podcast, we'll mostly focus on conversational, daily, natural Japanese.
Yeah.
Which that was a completely unnatural sentence. We'll focus on natural daily conversation.
Right. Things that you really want to know and things that you can really use. Not the ones that are in the textbooks or, but things that we find useful.
Right, exactly. So find out your why, find out your motivation. That's number one. Number two, what should you do, Asuka?
Learn useful everyday expressions.
So, just really simple stuff. Ohayo gozaimasu.
That's good morning.
That's good morning. How do you say good evening?
Konbanwa.
How do you say I'm lost?
Maigo desu.
My God, or michi mayottemasu. By the way, don't worry. If we say some random stuff, we will put this all in the show notes later. So this will all be written down. Yeah. So just learn useful everyday expressions. Good morning, thank you, please, all those kind of things. Pretty obvious, but it's worth learning. Number three.
Oh wait, we forgot to say something that's really important that you're gonna want to. If you don't know already, you should at least know this.
Yeah.
ありがとうございます.
Arigatou gozaimasu. That means
thank you.
Remember your pleases and your thank yous. Number three, kind of related to number two, is, now this is a subtle one. Learn Japanese expressions that don't necessarily translate well into English and expressions that give you an insight into the culture. So, for example, can you give me an example, Asuka?
There's a ton of those. People are like, how do you translate that? よろしくお願いします.
Oh my gosh, that's a hard one. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. I mean, you hear that a lot. That can mean many things. That can mean just nice to meet you.
Pleased to do business with you.
Pleased to do business with you.
Yeah.
Or I look forward to working with you in the future. Or I count on your continued support. It sounds clunky in English, but you use it all the time.
Yeah.
Now, another phrase that you heard at the beginning of the podcast was zehi, which means by all means. That's a very kind of Japanese thing they say every day.
You know what my favorite one is? And I have a hard time explaining this in English too. お疲れ様.
お疲れ様. So Otsukare-sama, a bad translation would be something like good job or well done.
Yeah. Appreciating your good job or, a well done day's job or, something to that. As you can tell, we're struggling to translate it because it doesn't translate well in English already.
And actually, I should say kind of a point 3.5 is try to understand Japanese in Japanese, if that makes sense. So, when I'm speaking Japanese, I don't realize I'm speaking Japanese. I'm just speaking the language and the words make sense in Japanese,
Right.
but they're hard to translate.
You're not translating in English every time you're speaking it, or you're not translating from an English emotion or thought to Japanese.
Right, exactly. So for example, zehi, by all means, otsukare-sama and yoroshiku onegaishimasu. But we'll come back to those a bit later in the podcast. Number 4.
Yes, number 4. So it's learn basic survival sentence patterns and grammar, and then drill them with new vocabulary. So what is this, Alex?
So basically what this is kind of the Learn Japanese Pod method.
Ooh, learn Japanese pod method.
The Learn Japanese Pod method. I mean, this isn't rocket science and this isn't breaking new scientific discoveries or anything. But basically what I've personally found is you have to drill stuff. You have to say things like 100 times or hear them 1,000 times so they really stick in your memory. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make with language learning. They don't drill enough. So for example, let's just do something really simple. I don't know. Asuka, how would you say, where's the bank?
銀行はどこですか?
Okay, so how do you say, where's the post office?
郵便局はどこですか?
How would you say, where's the convenience store?
コンビニはどこですか?
So what you want to do is you isolate the grammar or the structure, as linguists say, and it's nani nani wa doko desu ka, where is something? And then just learn a bunch of vocabulary. Just learn 10 words like bank, post office, department store. Station, crazy robot dancing girl show in Shinjuku. By the way, I'm going to see that.
Oh, wow. Everybody's been posting that on Facebook.
I know. I can't wait to see it. So, hey, Asuka, next time you're in Tokyo, let's go see it.
Absolutely.
So you could say, wa doko desu ka? Wa doko desu ka? Wa doko. So you say it enough times so you can understand it. If someone says it to you and you can say it fluently, then you just add on the words. So, as you said, I don't know, bank is ginko. So, ginko wa doko desu ka? Post office is yubin-kyoku. So, yubin-kyoku wa doko desu ka? So, okay, let's drill a couple. Asuka, how do you say where's the ATM?
ATM はどこですか?
How do you say where's the station?
駅はどこですか?
How do you say where's Godzilla?
ゴジラはどこですか? However, I have to make a point though. Because Godzilla is more of a person than a place, doko is usually associated with a place. You have to say どこにいますか? Yeah, because they have to be somewhere. It's not a place.
That's a really good point. So that's another grammar structure you could drill. Godzilla wa doko ni imasu ka? Or Alex wa doko ni imasu ka?
先生はどこにいますか?
Sensei wa doko ni imasu ka? Okay, number 5.
All right, so number 5. Are you guys excited about this? Are you excited about this, Alex?
You should be totally excited about this because number 5 is the super duper whooper secret trick to learning Japanese.
And what's that?
So this is learn a lot of adjectives. Ta-da!
Okay.
You're not amazed? Okay, so let me break this down.
Yeah. Let's break it down.
Japanese is super minimal. It's quite often that you don't need a subject to a sentence, and sometimes you don't need an object. And so all that's left is just the adjective. For example, you could say, 昨日のパーティーは楽しかったです, which is grammatically correct and people say it all the time. So the party yesterday was awesome. But you could also say, パーティーは楽しかったです. The party was fun, right? Or you could just say, 楽しかった, which just means fun.
Right. As long as you know the context of the conversation is about the party, then you don't actually have to mention the word party in order to say how interesting or how fun it was. So, but you have to make sure that people know exactly what you're talking about. I would actually say, パーティー楽しかったね.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, party 楽しかったね. So
like there's no wow or nothing. Just say party party, fun. That's it.
This is why I love Japanese. And if you literally translate Japanese into English, it sounds really awesome. It's like now conveni go, just stuff like that. So what you want to do is you want to learn a bunch of adjectives, and that will really get you started having a conversation. So
I have a question.
yes.
Since we're on the topic of fun and 楽しかった, can you show us examples of how you can use that and change it around?
Oh yeah. So what you want to do is you want to learn how to, for example, conjugate the adjectives. So they conjugate themselves. So for example, present tense, it is fun. You would say 楽しい, right? Now, if you want to say it's not fun, you say 楽しくない. Past tense, it was fun, is 楽しかった. So that's what we were just talking about. The party was fun. Party 楽しかったね. So the party was fun. And then you can even say the party wasn't fun. Party 楽しくなかった.
Right.
It wasn't fun.
And the amazing part is these are all very informal conversation that you can have with friends. If you want to make this formal, all you have to throw at the end is actually what, Alex?
Des. So normally between friends in a casual conversation, you say 楽しい, but stick a des on the end. 楽しいです. Just makes it more formal.
Polite.
Makes it more polite. Yeah, it makes it more polite.
If you're going out for business or, these are people that you don't really know well, then always going formal usually sort of wins points.
So basically, 楽しい, 楽しくない, 楽しかった, 楽しくなかった. Just learn that pattern, those 4 different conjugations, you're good to go. Super minimal, super easy. And it means, and this is the great thing, you can say more with less. Point 6, I'll go through super quickly. Exactly the same advice, but for verbs.
Great.
So, for example, we'll just go through these super quickly. If you want to do something, you can say, there's a couple of verbs you can use, shimasu. Another one is yarimasu. So, for example, to do something is yarimasu. Not do something, yarimasen. Did something, yarimashita. Didn't do something, yarimasen deshita. And if you want to say, let's do something, you can say, yarimashou. Or in the dialogue you heard at the beginning, mata yarimashou. Let's do it again. So just learn that pattern, and you're going to be able to say a lot.
Yeah, that actually sounds really compact and simplified.
Absolutely. And so you want to be quite minimal with Japanese. You actually don't want to say too much. Number 7.
All right. So I'm super excited about this.
Oh, yeah.
Learn sentence enders to supercharge your sentences. And this is probably what's going to make a huge difference in whether you sound stiff or natural.
Absolutely.
So we've already introduced some of them. When we were talking, our first conversation that we had was, パーティー楽しかったですね. The ne, because we talked about this and how that's more formal.
Right.
Ne just sort of, you're asking for like...
It's almost, not quite, but it's almost like saying something like, isn't it or wasn't it?
Right.
Don't you think? What you're doing is you're almost asking for agreement.
Agreement, that's it. That's the word.
楽しいね. Like, it's fun, isn't it? Or 楽しかったね. It was fun, wasn't it?
And Japanese people love that. It's a cultural thing. Like, we value harmony. So you want to include the people that you're with or people that are close to you, and throwing that little ne at the end definitely sort of feels like you're being included or you're into something exciting, and it's nice. I like that.
That's good. What other sentence endings do you have?
Another one would be like ka, yarimashou ka.
So that just mean, what does that mean?
That's a question. It would be like, shall we do it?
やりましょうか? 日本語を勉強しましょうか?
はい、勉強しましょう.
Shall we study Japanese? Yeah, let's study Japanese. Another really good one is yo. やりましょうよ. So that's just making it more emphatic. It's like, yeah, let's do this thing. Let's crush it, baby. Something like that. またやりましょうね. Let's do it again. 楽しかったですね. It was fun, wasn't it? 楽しいよ. It really is fun. Number 8, Asuka. What's point number 8?
Point number 8, start to put this all together with a good Japanese conversation podcast like,
Oh, we don't
I
know.
don't know, Learn Japanese Pod.
Learn Japanese pod. Oh, modesty prevents us. Oh no, wait a minute. It doesn't.
No, I think it's really good to have an opportunity to listen, and then we want to break down the culture as well. I believe I do a lot of translation work and I deal with a lot of translators. And one of the things that I see coming across, translated work is that people just really translate word to word. They have no love in it. They have no caring. They have no cultural
Right.
background. They're not interested in the topic. And it's like, if you have passion and you want to learn about the culture and how people think and how people relate to each other, that takes you further than, say, like speaking proper grammatical Japanese or making sure that you're not offending someone. I think
Right.
that cultural understanding takes you so much further.
And we've got mad love for
Oh,
Japanese.
yes, we do. And we love teaching it too.
Yeah, it's really good fun, and we love going off track and saying crazy things.
Yeah.
Because let me just put in my 2 yen here. When I was starting to study Japanese, I just bought a Japanese conversation book, and I listened to that CD probably 1,000 times, and I just memorized every single sentence. And it was a good way to learn. I was super motivated. I learned a lot from that. I mean, the dialogues were kind of weird, and they
Right.
were kind of stiff.
Oh, yeah,
and they
yeah.
were kind of formal. But I did learn a lot. So one reason we wanted to make this podcast was, we wanted to make something like that, but with real street Japanese,
Right.
real Japanese
Useful.
that you actually, real useful Japanese that you actually hear people say.
Right.
So now, I'm not going to get on my high horse and start dissing textbooks, because there are a lot of really good textbooks out there that I would highly recommend, and we'll probably do a review in a future podcast. But I think the key is like listen as many times as you can, drill, and then your brain is primed to speak Nihongo,
Right.
Japanese.
And then you just have to get out there and speak it. But which brings us to our 9th tip. What is that, Alex?
So, in terms of writing, we're not going to lie. Writing is challenging, or I should say reading and writing Japanese is challenging. You have 3 scripts. You have hiragana and katakana, which are phonetic scripts, and you have kanji, which are pictographs imported from China.
And you can't even count how many we have of those. So
There's a lot, and to read a newspaper, you need to know at least 1,500 to 2,000. So I'm not going to lie, it's pretty challenging. But one cool thing about learning to read and write Japanese is there's a bunch of apps out there. And now this is coming from someone who, I started learning Japanese 20 years ago. I wrote kanji out by hand.
You mean you're older than 20 years old, Alex?
I'm 21. Of course I'm kidding, kids. And I literally wrote them out by hand hundreds and hundreds of times. Now you have all these cool apps. Where should you start? Well, I think you should learn hiragana and get away from romaji, or Roman letters, from your textbooks as quick as possible. I find that learning Japanese in English, in using English alphabet, is just confusing. And the other thing too is, I was talking to a friend of mine who was saying that when he was studying Japanese, he found that learning hiragana actually improved his pronunciation, because if you just read a word in Roman letters, you tend to pronounce it watashi. Watashi wa arichi desu. But if you read it in hiragana, the hiragana breaks it down into syllables. And Japanese is pronounced in quite an equal way. They give equal weight to each syllable. So instead of saying watashi wa, it's like watashi wa arichi desu. It sounds a bit better, right? So try to learn hiragana and katakana as quickly as possible, and learn as much kanji as you can. There's a million apps out there now for learning kanji, so just download them onto your iPhone, your Android, your Prapatang phone. Anything's cool. You can do it. Number 10, Asuka, what's the final point?
The final point is just really simple, and probably the most difficult thing to do is really go out there and use it in real life and just get get your like shyness and your like, oh, どうしよう, your little nervousness of making mistakes. Like there's no way other than making mistakes and learning how to interact with people than learning the language and the culture best way.
So you want to get out there and practice it. Now, the great thing is Japanese people are highly appreciative and supportive of people who are learning Japanese, even if they're beginners.
Yes.
I have been to some countries which will remain nameless to hide the guilty, where you say something, your so-and-so sucks. But the Japanese are really impressed if you can even say a badly pronounced konnichiwa.
Yeah. They're really psyched that you can say maybe like 5 words and they'll be like, oh my God, they can speak Japanese. すごい, 日本語喋ってる. They get on. It's like, it's just 5 words, dude.
So that's what's really cool. So let's just quickly review. Number 1, decide why you want to study Japanese and define your goal. Be very focused. Number 2, learn useful everyday expressions. Number 3, Asuka?
Number 3 is learn Japanese expressions that don't translate well into English or give you an insight into the Japanese culture.
Number 4 is learn basic survival sentence patterns and drill them. Number 5.
Learn a lot of adjectives and learn how to conjugate them.
Exactly the same for number 6, but just do it with verbs. Learn a bunch of verbs, learn how to conjugate them. Number 7.
Learn sentence enders to supercharge your sentences.
Number 8, put this all together with a wonderful Learn Japanese Pod podcast.
Learn Japanese Pod.
Learn Japanese Pod. Please listen to us, please. Onegaishimasu.
And then number 9 is for writing, try to learn hiragana and get away from romaji in textbooks as quickly as possible, as it could be very distracting.
And number 10, finally get out there and practice your Japanese. You could use Skype, maybe. You could join a club, join a kendo club. Maybe there's some Japanese people, some patient Japanese people who will listen to your Japanese. So go do that.
Yeah, do some language exchanges, meet Japanese girls, boys, friends, kids, parents. I don't know. Just get out there.
Samurai sword masters, or crazy people who record podcasts. Now, one thing before we finish is we've got to answer this question because I get asked this quite a lot, and that is Japanese difficult?
Yes.
No, kind of. It depends. Depends. So, okay, what Asuka, what's difficult about Japanese?
When you try to learn everything, especially the writing and the reading, I think it gets a little overwhelming. But it's, every knowledge, you have to start somewhere and it's a build up. So what we're trying to do here is we want to build you up so you have enough tools that you can pull out and communicate. And they're going to be super useful, really great to have. And you're going to be like, dude, I speak Japanese pretty awesome.
You're going to be like Neo in the Matrix. They stick that iron spike in the back of your head. Go, I know Kung Fu. It's like, I know Japanese. And then Morpheus comes over and he says, show me. And then someone beats you up in a dojo. No, that was the wrong metaphor.
Right. I think that was the wrong metaphor too.
What we mean is, don't worry. We'll teach you kanji. Kanji is challenging, but you can do it. Another thing that I found kind of difficult was levels of politeness in Japanese. Japan is quite a highly stratified society, and the language reflects that. So if you're talking to your friends or your boss or your mother-in-law or to a kid, you're actually going to be using different vocabulary, different grammar, different words, and you just have to learn that. What else is difficult in Japanese?
Maybe picking the appropriate form of speech.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of, you can never go wrong with saying keigo, which is the formal speech, but then there's kensongo, which you have to degrade yourself in order to put respect on the other person. So, there's just so much, intricacy in terms of like where you stand, what position you're in. And, again, this is back to what Alex was saying. It's all cultural content. I mean, context. So
Yeah.
the more you understand about the culture, the easier these words, grammars, speeches, communication is going to come to you. So, we're not just teaching you how to speak Japanese. We really want you to know about our culture, what's so amazing about, what's so, annoying, or, how to bypass certain things so you don't have to get stuck with
Right.
boring grammar and just, not really feel it. Like, we want you to feel the language. And one way of feeling it is to listen to our podcast.
That's the one. That's the one. One other tricky thing is vagueness. The Japanese tend to be quite vague. They don't like to communicate directly sometimes. And so that's also reflected in the language when you often don't have a subject in the sentence. Like, going now, like, what? Who's going where? So you have to be quite highly attuned to the social context where the conversation's happening. So you really, really have to listen a lot, and you have to really work out what people's intentions are, because they're not going to teach you, and you're going to make an ass of yourself, and no one's going to tell you, but you will learn. And I think one of the cool things I've learned in Japan is how to be highly attuned to what's happening in a social situation, because they're not obvious about it. But I think actually that makes the language way more interesting to study. Now, just before you give up studying Japanese, let's talk about the easy points. Pronunciation is relatively easy. You don't have tones as you do in, say, Chinese or maybe even Thai. Vowel sounds aren't too hard, I guess. A, I, U, E, O.
Yeah, once you get a hang of it, I think you'll understand that it's a very staccato pronunciation or enunciation.
And I think even with pronunciation that's not perfect, you'll still be understood. I would imagine, I mean, I don't speak Chinese, but I would imagine that if I did study Chinese, I'm sure one of the biggest hurdles I would have is actually getting people to understand me. But in Japanese, again, as we said before, even a bad konnichiwa is understood by native speakers.
Right.
And I think the last point about Japanese is, I don't know if this is an easy or a difficult point, but Japanese is minimal, right? That means, again, like I was saying, if you learn adjectives, just one adjective or one verb, you can say a lot more with less.
Right.
And that's another thing. You shouldn't speak too much in Japanese. Listen, always listen. Now, at the beginning of the podcast, you heard a conversation, and I think we've explained some of the vocabulary already in that conversation. But let's just do it again. So, dozo, asuka.
おはようございます。
おはようございます。
昨日のパーティー楽しかったですね。
楽しかったですね。
またやりましょう。
ぜひ。One more time.
おはようございます。
おはようございます。
昨日のパーティー楽しかったですね。
楽しかったですね。
またやりましょう。
ぜひ. Okay, let's explain that really quickly. I think you probably already understand this, right? おはようございます means...
Good morning.
And then I said おはようございます good morning. Then 昨日のパーティー楽しかったですね means...
Yesterday's party was really fun.
Which is, you just repeat it. 楽しかったですね. And then またやりましょう means...
Let's do it again.
And then finally I said ぜひ which means by all means.
So what's interesting is you can probably predict the relationship between those two people.
Right.
And it's a morning, so maybe they're coworkers.
Right.
And they ended up going to a party together.
And maybe they had a bit too much sake to drink and something embarrassing happened. And I mean, they don't want to talk about it. I'm joking. You couldn't tell that from the conversation. But,
Not that far.
But you can tell, like, you can tell that, they're friends. It's kind of a casual level. Let's do it one more time because we're all about drilling. おはようございます。
おはようございます。
昨日のパーティー楽しかったですね。
楽しかったですね。
またやりましょう。
ぜひ。
Yay.
Let's do that again, Alex.
おはようございます。
おはようございます。
昨日のパーティー楽しかったですね。
楽しかったですね。
またやりましょう。
ぜひ。
Yay, that's it. It's as simple as that. Hey, you can already understand how to talk about a party. How cool is that? So, If you have any questions, queries, opinions, or ideas, please email us at info@learnjapanesepod.com. You can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/JapanesePodcast or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/learnjapanesepod. We would love to speak to you, hear your ideas, and we would love to teach you Japanese. And maybe you can teach us something. Who knows? Now, we threw a bunch of information at you today, didn't we? But don't worry, because if you sign up for the free membership at learnjapanesepod.com, you can get access to the show notes, and everything in this podcast will be written down in beautiful English and Japanese for your perusal.
That's awesome. Take advantage of that. And is that free, Alex?
And that's completely free. And what we'll do, so if you join, I'm going to be completely upfront. If you join the membership, you'll get access to the show notes for the first group of podcasts, and we will send updates via email about new courses we're doing and new posts, new videos, new podcasts. So please join today.
Please join.
Okay, Asuka, well, いろいろ教えていただいてありがとうございます。
どういたしまして、楽しかったね。
楽しかったね。楽しかったね。
楽しかったね。
またやりましょう。
はい、ぜひ。
Yay! Okay, everyone, thanks so much.
Thank
That was
you.
awesome. See, look, that was real Japanese in real context. Hey, Asuka, see you next time, and everyone,
See you.
thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye.
Yeah, study hard. Bye.